These are important stories as new data shows a grim light on COVID infections across the nation. Right now, cases are up almost 50%. This isn't the case for 45 states, including in Georgia. Doctors say the people ending up in the hospital are younger, like in their 30s and 40s, sometimes even teenagers or pediatric patients. Doctors also say there is a common thread to who's getting the sickest.
And if they are sick enough to be admitted to the hospital, they are unvaccinated. That is the absolute common denominator.
Doctors point out that Georgia's vaccination rate continues to lag behind most other states. So let's take a closer look at those numbers. As of Monday, Georgia has seen more than 900,000 cases in total. Our weekly average is 605 new cases a day. The weekly average of new hospitalizations right now is 75 people. As of yesterday, the number of Georgians hospitalized with COVID symptoms right now is 625. And looking now at the vaccination rates, 44% or 4.5 million Georgians have had at least one dose. 39%, around 4 million, are fully vaccinated. For the latest vaccine information and to see the COVID trends in your area, you can go to 11alive.com for our special section on coronavirus.